Well, hello, and welcome to video number 5 in TJ's Guide Notes. I am Transformation Jones. If you have gone to my YouTube page and liked and subscribed, you can call me TJ. So today in TJ's Guide Notes, we're starting the second section of the book. In my first 4 videos, I went through the first 4 sections of the book and really talked about all the reasons why transformations, like lean transformations, are first and foremost human transformations, and you need to look at them from the human perspective, and that's the key to being successful with these. So what I'm going to be doing starting today is I'm going to move into the second half of the book, and the second half of the book are 8 guidelines that will help you with your transformations. Each one of those is connected to the human transformation, and it's very important to making sure that your transformation is a human transformation. So in video number 5 today, we're going to be talking about our guideline number 1, which is all about focus. And that should be out of focus for you. It's out of focus. My eyes are getting bad, but I think it's out of focus for me. And I should probably mention that the 8 guidelines in the second half of the book are first and foremost focus, which is what we're going to be talking about today, but then establishing a vision, dealing with guideline number 3 deals with the proper types of metrics, guideline number 4 with developing the systems that expose the issues and encourage the improvements. Guideline number 5 is about support, the proper level of support for the learners. Guideline number 6 is about developing the foundation that you need to be able to go to guideline number 7, which is to scale. And guideline number 8 is all about anchoring the changes. So those are going to be the 8 videos that are going to be in the second half of the book. But today, the focus again is on focus, how appropriate that it is. And I want to start with just a couple of realities that you need to understand, and I think it'll help us with understanding the importance of focus. The first reality is that no organization in the world, including yours, has unlimited resources. Resources by definition are limited, and the types of resources that I'm talking about is time, money, human resources, leadership attention as a resource is limited. And I found a quote that I really liked. This guy named David Allen said, he said, "You can do anything, but not everything." And so the first part of the focus is recognizing that, one, your resources are limited. Okay. The second reality is that focus implies sacrifice. If you focus on everything, you focus on nothing. So focus implies sacrifice. And Steve Jobs was quoted as saying that deciding what not to do is as important as deciding what to do. And so what happens a lot of times, what I see a lot of times when I work with organizations is they're trying to be everywhere. They're trying to roll out the transformation everywhere. And that may sound wonderful. These are such powerful tools. These are such amazing things to do that we want to do them everywhere. And eventually you would like to do them everywhere, but you can't start out by doing them everywhere. And if you try to, what it leads to, the Air Force had a term that I liked when I worked with them years ago. Their term was strategies of general goodness. So it's trying to be everything to everybody. Sounds really good. It doesn't work at all. So really, again, limited resources means that you must focus, and focusing means you must sacrifice putting those resources toward anything that is not part of that focus. So then the challenge just becomes, okay, where do we focus? And so a large portion of that chapter in my book is dedicated towards understanding how to go about finding the proper area of focus or a proper area of focus. And there's a lot of factors that go into that, but probably the most important, and it's always the most important when I work with organizations, is to look for the area that's currently constraining you. So lean and operational improvement should be seen as a means of growing. So the lean tools and techniques and so forth are best applied when they're applied towards creating your capacity to be able to grow. So lean is a growth strategy. And so in that way, lean and theory of constraints really work incredibly well together. So theory of constraints says you look at your system and you identify the place where the process is being constrained. It's the kink in the garden hose, if you will, that's preventing you from being able to do more. So that's your capacity constraint. And so TOC, or theory of constraints, would say focus there, because if you can release that constraint, you can immediately get greater throughput. Now, how do you release that constraint? Well, that's where the lean tools and techniques come in. So the process of looking at the system, identifying what's currently constraining it, and then applying your resources to mitigating that constraint and therefore getting greater throughput. So the focus needs to be somewhere where the process is being constrained. So the first step then involves looking at your processes such that you identify where you're currently constrained, or looking at all your processes to figure out which ones contain the biggest constraints, and therefore you can get the biggest bang for the buck. So I work a lot with manufacturers, and typically what you're doing when you're looking for the constraint is you're looking for, within any process, what is the longest cycle time? So what's taking the largest amount of time? And you can do that through time observations and so forth. The easiest way to know where to start your time observations is look for the inventory. As a general rule, it's not always the case, but as a general rule, whatever is constraining you is going to have a lot of inventory in front of it waiting to get through it, and less on the backside, because everything on the backside is able to handle that volume better. So typically where the inventory builds up is where you're going to most likely find your constraint, and therefore the best first area of focus. I do a lot of work with healthcare, and it kind of works the same way. It's just that the inventory, if you will, doesn't look like, boxes on a shelf, or uh, pieces of work in process in a bin. Inventory in their world are patients. And so it's things like long access. If I'm trying to get an appointment in a clinic, and the first available appointment is 4 weeks from now, then that's a lot of inventory, if you will, 4 weeks worth of patients or patient demand trying to get in the system, and you don't have the capacity to be able to handle that. So that's the system telling you that you're constrained at that particular point. Um, Maybe it's things like long waits. It's patients that are sitting for long periods of time waiting for an operation, or waiting for a particular step in the process, waiting for a CT, or waiting for their meds to be delivered, whatever. That will point to a possible constraint, and therefore a great area of focus. And long length of stay, same type of a thing. So you're just looking for where you've got the longest waits, and they're going to be probably pointing you to a constraint. And so when I work with healthcare, what I'm typically doing is I'm helping them identify which areas where they may have the longest access issues, or wait issues, or so forth. Because in those areas, if we can focus on that and alleviate that constraint, we immediately get greater throughput. And the neat thing about this, even though these things are first and foremost human transformations, and that's we're going to look at the focus from that perspective. The good thing is, as you make improvements and generate throughput, it actually hits the bottom line very, very quickly. If you understand throughput economics, which I don't think I'm going to get into on this video, But if you understand throughput economics, that if I can get uh, greater throughput over existing resources, basically almost 100% of the revenue gained from that greater throughput goes straight to the bottom line. And so what that does is it helps pay for these improvement processes. That again, you don't have unlimited resources, and at the end of the day, even with your limited resources, they have to be paid for. So it's nice to be doing things that go ahead and pay for the improvements as they go too. Um, the other reason why you want to focus, and this is getting at back at the human side of things, is by focusing, and we'll talk about, setting some mission-centric goals and so forth with that. But by finding an area of focus and deciding that you're going to focus there, this focus also implies depth. So it's not going to be we go into this area, we do a little bit of tinkering around the edges, and then we move on and we're done. By focusing on this area, we're going to take the time to invest in going deep and understanding exactly what are the causes of the things that are constraining us. And that's going to allow you to bring your people in to the process of process improvement, to involve them in that whole process of identifying the issues and working through possible improvements to those issues and so forth, seeing the benefits of those issues. So again, there's a depth involved with using this focus. And what that depth is going to do is for a small portion of your organization, again, we're by focusing here, we're sacrificing focusing anywhere else. But for that first part of the organization, what that depth is doing is it's helping to develop your people. It's looking first at the human side of these transformations. So it's very important from that perspective as well. It's funny when I was looking through some of the information with regard to focus, I found a quote from Bruce Lee from many years ago, and he once said, "The successful warrior is an average man with laser-like focus." And I think that's what we're trying to get at. We're trying to create these successful process warriors, if you will. And by having that laser like focus and putting our resources toward that with the intention of developing the people within there as we make improvements to the process, it's going to allow them to be very successful warriors. And the final piece, if you will, that comes from that is you're going to create in this area a model. So we're going to learn what works, we're going to learn what doesn't work, but we're going to do that as we're actually moving things forward, making improvements. And so we're going to take an area that was and turn it to a better is that now becomes a wonderful story to tell. This is an area where later, when we get to wanting to spread the changes and so forth, now we've got a great story, some great storytellers in these individuals that have worked through this that we've focused on, and even a test area or a pilot area that we can bring them to show them exactly what's going on. So again, what this focus does is it recognizes the fundamental reality that we have limited resources, but it deploys them in a way that you get the biggest bang for the buck, not only monetarily for the organization, which is important. And I didn't mention this, as you're generating greater throughput, it's better for your customer. Okay, so you're generating better revenue flow, and you're making things better for the customer. But the main thing is that it's making it better for the people that work in that area, and they're learning how to make it better for themselves. And this is where that whole dedicating it to them and making sure that our process improvement efforts are dedicated to developing our people is going to work out. I want to share one more story that I just thought was kind of funny. So this whole focus, the whole idea is not to spread your resources too thin and have that strategy of general goodness. And years ago, I was working with a shipyard. You see right up here, there's a hat that I got from one of the ships that I was working with. It was a Northrop Grumman shipyard. And I was trying to, help them understand that we don't want to spread our resources too thin. And just off the cuff came up with an analogy that turned out to be a terrible analogy. I said, it's sort of like, peanut butter. You don't want your peanut butter spread so thin that it makes for a sandwich where you can't taste the peanut butter. And somebody pointed out to me, said, yeah, but if you focus it all in one effort, it's going to make a funny sandwich with a huge clump of peanut butter in one area and nothing on the rest of the bread. I'm like, okay, so it wasn't a good analogy, but just a little while ago, a couple weeks ago, as I was rearranging things in my office, I found this jar of peanut butter. Notice it's autographed. This was given to me by the people at that shipyard when I quit working with them, just as a reminder to that horrible analogy that I came up with. Naturally, I've kept the peanut butter. It's a trophy. It's a memento. And the analogy is bad, but it'll probably help you remember that you don't want to be spread too thin. You want to be focused on one corner of that sandwich. And yeah, it may be a terrible peanut butter sandwich with all the peanut butter in just one section, but it's the right approach as you're making process improvements. So, video number 5, guideline number 1 is all about focus. And I hope you picked up on a few things today that will help you. Again, uh, these videos are here for you. Please like, subscribe. Please feel free to share these videos. I'm happy to share them with you. I'm happy to share with you my book, The Journey, A Guideline to Lean Transformation Success. I hope you have a wonderful day, and look for you very soon with the next video where we talk about establishing the right type of mission-centric vision for this focus area. Thank you very much.